but from the inside, I'm different because I had something that was unique, and so he looked and he found that, and so because of that, and because I understand that, and I understand the premise of submission, and as we talked about the last time about being under, so then it's easy for him to satisfy me and for me to satisfy satisfy him, because we understand that there is nothing impossible for him to do.
I have a question. It makes me wonder if many of us have married outside the will of God when we have problems with the husbands.
I think sometimes we have entered into marriage with unequally yoked persons, because God is a sovereign God, and we are free moral agents. If we decide to go against the will of God, He's so sovereign that He'll just let us go.
That's right.
That's true.
That's right.
And so once we understand, when I'm looking at something or someone from a physical perspective, and he quivers my body and my mind, but not my spirit and my heart. So once we get into this relationship, then we find out that I have entered into a path that I really didn't have complete understanding about. What should I do about it?
Yeah.
We either can stay in it, pray, get this thing right, see ourselves as where we want to be within our spouses. If that doesn't work, then we have to make these decisions, as we talked about last time, when we enter into a relationship and we realize that that person is not compatible for us. What do we do? If they're abusing us, if they're misusing us, do we stay there? That's not the will of God concerning us. So then we have to make some decisions. But if I really know that He loves me and I love Him, what I need to do, I need to go back to God, and ask God, create within me a clean heart, renew my spirit, renew our love for each other, so we can be to each other exactly what you would have us to be, spiritually, and then naturally through having conversations with each other, then we can become that that person.
And what you're saying, then, that says so much, because like you said, there are people right now and that have stayed in difficult situations because they say, well, divorce is not of God, you got to do this, and in fact I read experts, you covered that in your book. And that's another thing too. It's like, wow, that's really a heavy thing, because we've all, and women experiences I think some bad decisions that we made because we do have our emotions and lead us. Plus, I think we think we can change people because we're nurturers. We can nurture somebody to change.
Yeah.
And also I feel that you want the marriage to work.
Yes.
So you don't jump ahead, you don't jump out of it right away.
Correct.
You want it to work. And you find out 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years go by, and it still hasn't changed. It's like, okay, how stupid was I?
Yeah.
And you look back and you think maybe you wasted your time.
Did I waste my time?
Yeah.
And if I had, I'm speaking hypothetically.
Right.
And if I jumped out of it, if I dissolved it, I mean, what effect would it have on my children? So which is worse, what we're going through or what we're going to go through? Staying in a marriage and whatever garbage is going on, or get out of the marriage and now we're single parents, and
and go ahead, Harriet, because you.
No, go ahead, Marsha. And
what I was going to say, sometime when you have a situation and your husband, like you say, is not the husband that you have, and God sent, and we're in it, and you have children. Sometimes it's even more difficult for the children to endure what's going on in the household.
Well, that's what I said. Which is worse?
We don't.
That I don't know. You don't know. Go ahead.
I know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And that's the truth. You don't know. You don't know which one is worse. You know, like you were saying, Vicky, do you endure what you're going through? And I want you to understand, even from Betty's perspectives, what she's saying, you know, from her book, and when she described her husband, because we don't want, we don't want anybody to think that, oh, that everything always have been peaches and cream, because even, and that's to come back to what you're saying, do you stay in it, or do you say, enough is enough? And you really have to define that within yourself. It really lies upon you making a decision to say within yourself, if you're really tired of going through this type of abuse, or and just like Betty said, that's not God's will that you go through abuse, and then kids do get involved, and then kids do get hurt, and you have all of that weight upon your shoulder. And what we could say today to anyone out there that may be possibly going through something like that is that that's when you really got to go to the cross. That's when you really got to go to the Lord and ask Him to come in and really be a mediator and really bridge the gap and put the pieces back together again. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, Betty, you have a husband that's God sent, but I also read that you were in an abusive marriage before this.
Correct.
And so you can understand from everybody's perspective. You can understand more than some people that haven't. Went from a bad marriage to a good marriage. And for women out there, and men too.
That's right.
I mean, because men go through abuse.
That's
too.
right. That's right.
And there's and what I see in a lot of women. Well, I don't want to say a lot of women. Some women, they're domineering, and then they could be what I call passive aggressive. They could be manipulating in a passive mode where the husband can never please them.
They're never satisfied with their husband, no matter what it is.
Yeah, no matter what he does.
Yeah. And also, this is